Hey, everybody, welcome. Morgan Wright. I'm the CEO and founder of the National Center for Open and Unsolved Cases. That's our website below. It's a registration site, openunsolved.org. We have a demonstration coming up on July 30th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to introduce what I think is a game changer in how to solve crime. That includes unsolved cases like cold case homicides, any kind of violent crime. We're looking for finding all the missing people that are out there, naming the unidentified, finding fugitives from justice, making communities safer. Now, we're going to go over a lot of this on the demonstration, so I don't want to, bore you on the demo. I'll give you a little bit of background here. So, what's the problem we're trying to solve? I come out of a background of law enforcement, justice, intelligence. I've sat in both classified and unclassified environments, and I've watched the dots float around. You can't connect the dots unless you collect the dots. Law enforcement intelligence is really good about saying we got to connect the dots. Well, how do you do that? You got to put the dots all in one place. So, law enforcement has many systems designed to do that for fingerprints, for biometrics, for DNA, wanted records, things like that. So, I ask people, name me the one system that any citizen in the United States can participate in to find out if they have any information to help law enforcement solve crime. Now, some people say we've got Crime Stoppers, Crime Solvers. Look, I used to chair one of those when I was a detective. I held the Crime Stoppers phone. Good stuff, but they're silos. They're 400 separate silos of good information around the United States. What's the thing that's connecting them all together? Nothing. That's where we come in. This whole thing was born out of frustration that I had working in the justice community actually after 9/11, looking at how information was not being shared between federal, tribal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. So started when I worked at Justice, I actually wrote the strategy. It's now called One DOJ, but it was called the Law Enforcement Information Sharing Program. We looked at how was information shared between 18,000 different agencies. It was difficult, right? But we figured it out. We figured out a lot of things, and now it is the longest running, biggest information sharing program inside the Department of Justice. I worked on consolidation of the terrorist watch list, watched how we were missing the opportunity to connect good guys to find bad guys. So one of the things I was doing, took a couple ideas, actually got one of my solutions on the 1000th episode of America's Most Wanted. I was a technical advisor for about a year and a half, but I started saying there's got to be a bigger thing. There's got to be a bigger thing out there. Initially, I used Facebook to make connections because look, we're all, according to Facebook, if you look at their social media graph, everybody is connected by 3.67 degrees of separation. It used to be what's the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? Well, guess what? Now it's about 3.6 degrees. That means you're 3.5 handshakes away from Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong Un or one of the serial killers. BTK. I come from Kansas. Obviously, Dennis Rader out of Wichita. You've got Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. So how do we get people closer to those cases to where they can provide information and help law enforcement solve crime? So the things I started looking at this and I said, look, there's 5 things that connect all of us: date, location, time, demographics, and relation. But what's one of the first things we know when something happens? What do we normally want to say? Well, where did it happen? Because you look at locality. Is it close to me, right? If you're in Virginia, which I am, and a case happens in California, you're like, oh, I care, but I care more if it happened in my area, right? But what if you used to be in that place in California, in that town where a crime had happened? Maybe it's a homicide. Maybe it's a cold case that they're trying to solve. Maybe it's a kidnapping. Maybe it's a fugitive from justice. What would happen now if I could share with you and connect you to cases, no matter where they are in the United States, that you had a link to at least from a location in common? Did you go to school there? Did you work there? Did you have friends there? Did you go vacation there? Is it one of your favorite spots to go eat at? Whatever it is, we're all connected. So this is 6 degrees of separation, but for crime. So what we've done is we've put together a platform called HOLMES, named after Sherlock Holmes, the first private consulting detective and a big hero of mine, the way he thought about things. So we've created this national platform called HOLMES. And what we're going to be doing is demonstrating this on July 30th. Now, here's the unique thing about it. For this thing to work now, for if you're a citizen and you're wondering, well, I don't know if I want to get involved, am I going to have to share information? What am I going to have to do? This requires no personally identifiable information to make connections. We can't make connections based upon your telephone number or your email or your address. We only ask for one thing, and that's your email, so that we can be able to send you tips and leads and show you the cases you're connected to. But we don't use that to make connections. So we protect your information. We don't even, if you want to give your name, that's great. And if you don't, we don't need it to make this system work. So we collect no PII in order to make this system work. Now we collect one piece of PII, which is your email address, simply so we can create an account and email you. But that's it. Nothing else. No social security numbers, no telephone numbers, not a zilch, zap, nothing, right? Now, from the law enforcement side, and I've been down this route before, people are going to go, well, hey, we can't let citizens into our systems. We're not asking you to do that. And in fact, one of the great ways that this works is that this will use citizen volunteers, what we call citizen case coordinators. Volunteers, people who are willing to help do the open source research on cases to identify all of these locations. So as a law enforcement agency, we don't need any what's called CJI, criminal justice information. We don't need any CJI to make this work, and here's why. We can't make a connection to the case based upon a fingerprint or a DNA profile, or the fact that, let's say, the weapon in the crime was a 9mm, and the cops, law enforcement will call that holdback information. We'll hold back that information and use it to test the veracity, the credibility of the tips that come in or the informants that come in. We can't make a connection on that. However, let's say that you have a case, and this case happened at 123 Main Street. That's the incident location. That becomes a pin in a map. You can draw a circle, a radius around that, and find anybody connected within 1 to 25 miles of that location. Anybody, any citizen who's come in and says, hey, I've created an account. Here's my 3 locations I'll start off with. Maybe I got more locations that I want to share with you. Where I was born, where I went to school at, 15, 20 different locations. Put in as many as you want. 3 is a good number to start with because it allows us to start making connections. So when your location matches law enforcement's location, you as the citizen are going to get a ping to say, hey, look, you may be connected to this case because you and the victim both went to the same high school, or you and the suspect both used to work at the same place, right? So you're going to get these connections based on something in common. What does this save you? You as the citizen, it means you don't have to go out and scan 18,000 websites trying to figure out what's out there, literally, who has the time to do that? What I would like, though, one of the reasons I created this was I'm kind of a lazy guy. I work really hard so I can be lazy. If I put all the effort in up front, then what I wait for is for the system to push me information. So once I put my profile in one time, that's all it takes, one time, and I can put in, let's say I put in 5 locations because I'm an overachiever. I'm an A player. I want to get my locations in there. Then what do? I just sit and wait. When a case comes in that's entered by law enforcement and one of their locations matches one of my locations, I'll get a notification to say, you, Morgan Wright, may be connected to this case. Now, for law enforcement, what do they get? You can do one of 3 things like before. It's like Crime Stoppers. There's 3 actions you can take as a citizen. Do nothing, even though you have information that can help solve a case. You could do nothing. You could say, I want to leave a tip, but I want to leave it anonymously, or I don't mind if the cops know my name. I'll be willing to give them my name. So the control is always in your hands as the citizen for you to decide, I want to leave information. That tip then goes back to law enforcement, and then they're able to act on it. And what does you get as law enforcement? Guess what? Let's say that we've got 50,000 users in this system, 100,000. I'm going to go wild and say at some point we're going to have 2 to 3, maybe to 5 million out there. Wouldn't you? And I would tell you as a detective, wouldn't you love to have the fact that you've got 50,000 extra pair of eyes helping you find leads to find that fugitive, develop leads on that cold case, find that missing person? Because guess what? The information you need to solve your crime is not always in the jurisdiction where the crime was committed or where the missing person happened. Things like that, right? So what we want to do is figure out how can we scale, right? People don't scale, technology scales. I've worked cold cases. I got a big folder down here. It's about yay thick of a cold case I've been working on. Folks, you can't, no matter what you do, you can't scale that, right? So what's the value proposition that the National Center for Open and Unsolved Cases brings? There you go, openunsolved.org. Go there and register. What we bring is the ability to scale. Put your case in one time if you're law enforcement on this side. Put your case in one time, and every time a citizen comes in, every time a new link is, or a new account is created, we're comparing all of those locations against your case. And then guess what? Pretty soon, now you'll see in the demonstration, we've got a basic platform, a pretty solid platform. We have plans for the use of artificial intelligence to do more, to provide more capabilities to screen tips, to look for which tips are credible. If I got 1,000 tips on a case, by the way, I learned this from my friends down at the U.S. Marshals. I've been working with them, getting requirements from them on what do you need to help you find and fight these fugitives from justice that are out there. They might get, couple hundred tips, right? How can we easily sort through all of those tips very quickly and layer them to say, hey, this top layer here, these are your most credible tips, and here's why. So we'll use AI to do that, to create a large language model that understands how tips come in and do all this neat stuff. I mean, that's going to be in the future. I have a 3-year plan. We're going to share some of this in future episodes like this. I'll do that, but I just wanted to get started right now with just simply just an introduction to say, look, right here, openunsolved.org. Go join the National Center for Open and Unsolved Cases demonstration that we have coming up July 30th. It's for the police and it's for the public, right? Here's the thing is, you as the public, you can get involved without being involved. Nobody has to know you, and the only person that knows you have an account is you. You're the only person that knows this. Law enforcement doesn't know this. The only time law enforcement knows you exist is when you decide you want to leave a tip, and if you leave a tip, it's either anonymously or with attribution. The choice, the power is still in your hands. Now, the other thing too is if you're a citizen and you want to get involved and you say, hey, I want to help track down, do these cases. In fact, I see one of the people that was on here, Kenny Gerald's, the Aware Foundation. They do fabulous work out of here, out of the Commonwealth of Virginia. I work with them on several cases, one of them being the Morgan Harrington case. I'll tell you more about that later. But one of the things you're going to see is that we've got the power now to be able to structure a way for the public to assist law enforcement. You don't get access to law enforcement systems, right? We have a separate system here that both the public and the police work together on. We put all the information in one place. We put all the dots in one place so that we can connect them. But think about this. If you're sitting and you say, look, I want to get involved. Great. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to create citizen case coordinators, people who are going to be able to help. You're going to be assigned a group of cases. Say you want to help find missing people. Great. Here's what we're going to do. You've got a batch of cases. These are yours. Enter these cases in. We only use publicly available information. This is not freelancing and going rogue and decide, hey, I'm John Wayne, I'm going to go out and do investigations. Folks, we're not investigators. We're open source investigators, you might say, but we're not putting people in the field. Our job is not to put bodies in the field. You got great organizations out there like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. You've got people dealing with human trafficking. You've got the Aware Foundation putting out flyers. You've got all of these other folks. They've already got their infrastructure set up. What we want to do is be that underlying piece of infrastructure that unifies and unites all of the information that's out there into one place so that when you put that missing person in, we're now connecting it. Not just, if this isn't crowdsourcing, this is let's throw it out on Facebook and hope somebody sees it. This is about the science of connecting people based upon, the first thing is location, right? So if you and I both went to the same high school, but we graduated 20 years apart, we have a link, right? But that link is the degrees of separation are going to be a little bit more, right? But if you graduated within 4 years of me, that connection is going to be closer. And if you graduated in my class, which by the way was the best class of Chapman High School ever, if you graduated in my class, then we've got a 1 degree of separation. I mean, we are connected. It's like LinkedIn, right? Your first, second, third level type of connections. What we want to do is shrink the world down to we get 1 to 2 connections away. That's going to mean you've got the most chance of having information that's going to help solve a case, return the missing, give a name to the identified. By the way, it's going to make your community safer. So let me leave you with just a couple stats to think about something. And this is a question I'm going to ask on the demonstration and do things like that. So if I asked you, what is the total cost of crime in the United States each year, what does it cost the United States in terms of crime? And that means the value of a statistical life. I've got all the research to back all of the stuff, folks. Believe me, this is not something I just decided to go throw into Grok or, Chat GPT and say, hey, I did the research. I talked to the professors who did these studies. One's called the aggregate cost of crime. The value of a statistical life is $10.9 million. That means every year when you have 16 to 17,000 homicides, the cost to society just on that alone is $250 billion. By the way, that's more than the total combined budgets of all law enforcement in the United States. More than that. And that's just on homicide, right? So what's the total cost of crime? And that includes lost wages, losing a job, losing property, the courts, the corrections, putting people in prison, having public defenders, the whole works. What's the cost? Everybody, I've only found one person that has even come close. So I'm going to give you the number, and if you're on the demonstration, don't shout it out because I want it to be a surprise to the other people. It's $5.7 trillion a year. That's 20% of the GDP of the United States. Crime has not just an emotional impact, it has an economic impact to the tune. That means 1 out of every $5 in the United States is impacted by crime. Every $5 that you spend, one of those dollars is because of 20% of our GDP is crime. So, folks, that's part of what we want to do. We want to make communities safer. We want to reduce the impact of crime. We want to close these cold cases, find fugitives from justice. We want to do all of these things, but we can't do it unless we have help from both the police and the public. By the way, Sir Robert Peel, the father of modern policing, father of the London Metropolitan Police Service, he had his 10 Peelian principles of policing, and I believe it's number 6, but it said, but basically, in essence, what it says is that the police are the public and the public are the police being the only members of society paid to give full time and attention to duties which are otherwise incumbent upon everybody, right? So this is me. I'm going to sign off here. It's about 15 minutes. When I used to do interview and interrogation, I could talk a lot of people into stuff. They would say, just shut the hell up. I'll tell you whatever you want, right? So, but I'll do more of these leading up to July 30th. So go to openunsolved.org, register for our demonstration. I want to see you on that. Well, it's a webinar. I won't exactly see you, right? But I'll see your names. But if you're interested, especially if you're a member of the public, if you're interested, we're going to create targeting groups, people who are focused on certain crimes. We're going to align with law enforcement, and we're going to start putting these cases into the system, putting the dots all in one place, and being able to make a huge impact on crime. How do I know this works? Because I did it before. When I told you I used Facebook to do it, created the first one. It was called Connected to the Case. Our first case that we put in there, I said, just give me your public information. Give me the flyer. It was a fugitive they'd been looking for 6 months. All I had was the flyer, little PDF. Took that information, did some quick research. Took me 10 minutes maybe to do research on this dude. Put him into the system. We found him 36 hours later, 3 states away. He was wanted here in Loudoun County, Virginia. We found him in Pennsylvania. And it's not because of crowdsourcing. It's not because of throwing it out there. It's because we use scientific principles basically to say, look, we know that people have connections. 6 degrees of separation. We found that one connection, which is the lady saw him. She had a connection because we knew that he used to be in this neighborhood, this area. That was one of our connection points. She happened to live there. She got a notification that says, you may be connected to this case. She looked at him. She says, I recognize this guy, but that's not his name. This is his name. He scammed me out of some money, and this is where he's living. Voila. 6 months of work we did in 36 hours and brought this guy back to face justice. So that's part of the theory of it. We want you to join openunsolved.org. Okay, stay with me. We're going to do some more stuff. We're going to have some more fun stuff. So we'll see you guys soon. Catch me on the next one. I don't know when I'll do. These are things going to be kind of popping up between now and July 30th, but they'll all be recorded. They'll all be on X and Facebook and I believe LinkedIn. So make sure you join us. I want to thank all of you. If you're a first responder out there, thank you. If you're a citizen that wants to get involved, thank you too. We'll be doing training. We'll be having all sorts of fun stuff with people from CIA and DIA, teaching you techniques on targeting techniques. I got a whole grab bag of fun stuff waiting in store, but you'll never find out unless you go here first. Openunsolved.org, registered. I'll see you guys soon.